That night started like any other storm in West Texas. Dark clouds rolling in, wind scraping against the windows like something angry trying to get in. I didn't think my life was about to split in half. A single message changed everything. Your grandfather is on the porch. Bags packed. It's pouring. He was 80. The man who raised me. The one who never asked for anything in his life except 3 words. Take care of me. 40 minutes away. I made it in 30. What I found outside my parents' house didn't look real. A man who once owned an entire ranch, now sitting in rainwater like he had no name, no home, no history. And inside that house, my parents were already asleep. I didn't know it then. But that storm wasn't just weather. It was the beginning of a truth buried under money, silence, and a promise everyone thought they could break. The porch light flickered against the rain like it was struggling to witness what was happening. My grandfather sat perfectly still, soaked through, holding 2 worn bags like they contained everything he had left in the world. His face didn't show panic. It showed acceptance. That somehow hurt more. I walked past the gate slowly, not because I was calm, but because my body didn't fully believe what my eyes were seeing. Grandpa? My voice broke before I finished his name. He turned his head like he'd been waiting for me specifically, like the storm had been scheduled around my arrival. You came, he said simply. That was all. No anger, no complaint, just relief. I looked toward the house. The windows were dark, warm, comfortable, like nothing outside mattered. They left you out here? I asked, already knowing the answer. He adjusted the old weather radio pressed against his chest. It was still on, crackling warnings about wind speed and rainfall, like it was reporting a world that didn't care about him either. I didn't want to argue, he said. Something inside me tightened. I helped him stand. He was lighter than I remembered, or maybe I was just stronger than I used to be. We walked to my car slowly. Each step felt unreal, like I was stealing him back from somewhere he'd already been given away. He didn't look back at the house. That should have told me everything. I took him to my apartment that night. Not because it was planned, but because there was nowhere else in the world that felt safe enough to refuse. My place was small. 1 bedroom. Bare walls. A life paused halfway through becoming something better. I gave him the bed. Took the couch. Told myself it was temporary. He never asked questions. Just placed the bags down and sat like he was trying not to take up space in my life. That was when I realized something terrifying. My grandfather had learned how to disappear in his own family. The next morning, I called my mother. Her voice came through like nothing had happened. "Oh, you found him," she said, almost casually. "Found him?" I repeated. "He gets confused sometimes," she replied. We were arranging proper care. Proper care. Like he was a problem to be managed, not a person to be protected. When I told her he had been sitting in the rain all night, there was silence on the line. Not shock, not guilt, just calculation. Then she said we couldn't keep doing everything forever. That sentence landed heavier than the storm. Days passed. He stayed with me. I started building my life around his routines. Medication schedules, doctor calls, grocery lists. He watched me work one afternoon and asked quietly, "What happened to your project?" My startup had failed months earlier. A soil sensor idea I believed in until money ran out and belief wasn't enough. "I ran out of time," I said. He nodded like that made sense. Then he said, "Time doesn't run out. People stop using it, right?" I didn't respond, but I remembered it. At night, he would sit by the window with that weather radio. It wasn't just a device to him. It was like an old friend, something that still told the truth when people didn't. One night, I asked him what he was always listening for. "Storms don't lie," he said. "People do. Weather doesn't." That was the first time I started wondering what my family had really been built on. Then came the phone calls. My mother telling relatives I had taken him away. My brother calling him too much responsibility. Words carefully chosen to make me sound unreasonable for doing the simplest thing in the world, not abandoning him. Nobody asked how he was, only who controlled him. That's when I understood something I didn't have language for yet. They weren't confused. They were repositioning the story. One afternoon, while sorting his things, I found an envelope hidden in his nightstand. Heavy paper, official handwriting. Inside was a card with a date and a note. Bring the key. I didn't open anything. I just put it back exactly where it was. When he noticed, he didn't look surprised. He just said Thursday. That was it. No explanation, no fear, just timing. The day we went to the lawyer, the storm was already forming again. He held the brass key the entire ride like it was something alive. I waited outside while he went in. 53 minutes later, he walked out differently. Not relieved, not happy, settled, like a weight had been redistributed somewhere else. Weeks later, everything changed. The reading of the will. The room was too quiet for how loud the truth was about to be. My family sat together like they were attending something they already owned. My mother smiled like a verdict was guaranteed. My father avoided eye contact with everything that mattered. Then the lawyer spoke, and the story they had been living inside began to collapse. 20 million, not gone, hidden, accumulated quietly over decades through mineral rights nobody cared to understand. And the ranch they thought defined him. It was only the surface. They had sold the top layer of his life. They never even noticed what was underneath. Then came the sentence that ended everything they believed. The advance they had taken, the money they thought was a gift, was not a gift at all. It was counted, deducted, settled against what they would have received. My mother tried to speak. Nothing came out correctly. My father just stared at the floor like it might explain how he got there. And for the first time, the room stopped feeling like theirs. When the lawyer finally turned to me, I didn't feel victorious. I felt still, like I had been standing in the right place without knowing why. The remaining estate wasn't divided equally. It wasn't emotional. It was precise. And it pointed directly at me. Not because I earned it, but because I stayed when leaving would have been easier. Afterward, my mother called it manipulation. My brother called it unfair. But none of them could argue with what was written. Because my grandfather had done something they never expected. He documented everything. Every assumption. Every belief. Every mistake people make when they think money replaces responsibility. I left the building alone. Outside, the rain had started again. Of course it had. I sat in my car and listened to the weather radio in silence. And for the first time, I understood what he had been teaching me all along. Not about money, about attention. About presence. About who shows up when there is nothing left to gain. Months passed. I rebuilt everything. The failed startup became something smaller, cheaper, real. A tool farmers could actually afford. Built from the same idea he had always lived by. If something matters, it should be usable by the people who need it most. His radio stayed with me the whole time. Still working. Still speaking in static and forecasts like a heartbeat I could rely on. And sometimes, late at night, I still think about that porch. About how quickly a family can rewrite a person's value when they think the numbers are already settled. And how quietly the truth can sit in a drawer for years waiting for the right moment to speak. If this story did something to you, even something small, don't ignore that feeling. Because this isn't just about one family or one will or one stormy night. It's about something most people only realize too late. That the way someone treats you when there's nothing left to gain is the only real truth they ever gave you. Before you scroll away, think about this: who in your life has been quietly showing up for you without asking for anything back. And when was the last time you showed up for them the same way? Maybe it's a parent, a grandparent, someone who never made noise about needing you. Call them, message them. Don't wait for a reason dramatic enough to justify it later. If this hit home, drop a comment and share it with someone who needs the reminder. And if you want more stories like this, stories about truth, silence, and what people reveal when money enters the room, subscribe now, because the next story might sound different, but it won't feel unfamiliar.